Oh, the lows that CBC will sink to. I'm Brian Lilley with TheRebel.media. I've been harping about CBC for a long time, but not just because they suck up $1 billion a year, but because their standards have been falling for the $1 billion we give them. I've told you how they couldn't cover any of the debates that they didn't control during the federal election. I told you about them fawning over Justin Trudeau so much that they were asking you to send in their selfies, that Peter Mansbridge looked like a fanboy. Now they're using a comedian, Scott Voorman, as an actual news article. Voorman, I showed you him last week. He was put forward as a spokesperson. He was protesting with the group 350.org outside of 24 Sussex Drive. I asked to speak to the real spokesperson. They said no. Then when I tried to set up my camera near them, they sent out a guy with a megaphone. Finally, they said, here, you can speak to Scott. Scott will speak for our organization. And he proceeded to just put forward his own comedy routine.
That the earth is basically a toilet, and we need to fill it to the brim with whatever we want, at which point God will flush it up to heaven. And
so now you're just talking a load of crap, speaking of toilets, and trying to do comedy shtick.
Well, that very same day, Voorman, after leaving that sit-in, marched down with the rest of the protesters to a park nearby 24 Sussex Drive. He recorded a video of himself ripping up his degree from Dalhousie University. Why? Because they will not divest themselves of oil and gas stocks in their endowment fund. So Voorman posted a video about this, and CBC ran with it as a news story. Here's a quick clip from Voorman's video.
Your job is to prepare students for the future. So you shouldn't be profiting from an industry that is actively working to make that future uninhabitable. And as an expression of my anger at this decision, I'm ripping up my master's degree. And I'm going to send this back to you.
Now, most of his videos don't get any attention. 200 hits, maybe 200 views. It's pretty pathetic considering he's such a star of the left. This one's getting thousands because CBC put it on their site, because CBC decided that this was worthy of a news story. This is what they put forward now. A man that can't answer real questions, a man that jokes about everything, is now somehow a real news story. Why? Why? Because he agrees with their agenda. That's what it's about. CBC wouldn't, cover our boycott Tim story when Enbridge was kicked out of Tim Horton's advertising. They wouldn't cover our petition. They wouldn't talk about thousands of ordinary Canadians being upset at this. They did want to talk about Scott Voorman, though. CBC standards have been falling a long time. This is sad because when I went to journalism school, Mohawk College, a long time ago, they were held up as the gold standard. They're not anymore, and they haven't been for a long time. Remember, Peter Mansbridge is the third place anchor in a 3-horse race. This latest example of their bias, they're deciding on what's news based on their own predetermined narrative of good and bad. It's another example of why CBC should be sold off. I welcome you to sign our petition if you haven't already at sellthecbc.ca. We will be presenting that to Parliament when they return. Maybe this video example should be sent along with it.